was trying to take you over the window.
Thank you to the managers. They did a good job. Maybe they shared with you. Because it's not an easy task, and you did it really well, actually. The time when I had the experience, I took much longer. So, now let's go to the discussion. What did you learn out of this game?
How I react in
different situations.
Yeah.
How employees react.
how I would personally
Yeah.
react in like being a manager in a situation.
Would you maybe do something different when you do it the next time?
Try not to get frustrated when it was like,
You don't get frustrated.
yeah, try to
Yeah.
yeah.
Some else's impressions?
You can't just walk into a different culture and fit in straight away.
Yeah. So you have to observe first, for example, what's going on.
Yeah.
Did you have that was a nice question actually. Did you have a tactic, you managers, when you came into the room?
No.
Did you had no?
Whatsoever. I think we made a massive presumption that everything was just going to be normal, I think.
Okay.
We didn't expect that at all.
We
That's
thought
why
like what we because I was trying to think and we thought everyone would be like we'd have difficult people, like people who didn't want to work and we were having to like focus
Okay.
on work, and we thought like people like who want to work and then there'd be some people that bullies and stuff, we thought it'd be something like that. But then when nobody said anything, it was like, okay, what do we do now?
What do you think?
Taking direction. So basically, at the end, so taking direction from the reps.
How did you think maybe the 6 E's were implemented? We can also have them again. What were your impressions of the 6 E's? Were they implemented? Some of them were implemented.
Yes, because we had to educate the managers as to what was happening. They didn't have a clue.
Do you think it's really an education of managers?
Oh, well, and us as well, because they didn't have a clue.
Maybe that sometimes communication has to take place,
Yeah.
that the employees have to. I mean, the employees I think were really nice because you helped the managers a lot. And they explained them a lot. So, for example, that's also part of the employees to contribute to a good working relationship. Any other questions?
We were empowered at the end, we knew what to do, like we tried to empower them, but we know what the complete task.
What do you think about enhancing or enlightening?
What we said in there was that we didn't think it enhanced us, but we were enlightened because there's nothing there to enhance in the beginning because we never been managers or anything.
Yeah.
So we think it enlightened us to be managers rather than enhancing what we were doing.
Okay. And to the other question, what domains does this game belong, or for example, how could the shown behavior influence the domains? Any thoughts to that?
I think on an emotional level, because we could clearly see that the managers were getting stressed by the situation, not knowing how to control their employees. They got less stressed as they realise how to fit into the culture.
What ideas?
Personal development. Personal development.
Yeah.
Is this from a leadership point of view or an individual point of view?
Both really. Yeah, because individually, I learned how to manage in a better way, and so both. Like personally, I learned how to manage and in the leadership role within the scenario. I learned how to do it.
Yeah, comes maybe from the back also. Do you have any ideas, guys?
Well, from all the employees' point of views, right? So from an individual point of view, so think about your assignment, you can look at it either from a leadership or from an individual employee point of view, right? So all the employees, what domains could you see in your experience?
Physical, because I haven't moved chairs.
Yeah?
Emotional,
Why emotional?
because Katie was an emotional distress.
I want to take that a little bit further. What about the leadership styles in which you were asked to do things? Yeah? What was the reaction with the aggressive?
Well, nothing got done if they were aggressive. If they were aggressive and asked calmly and friendly,
Yeah?
in a caring kind of way, then work did get done, things were good.
So what domain could you...
To work organisation, I think.
Yeah? What are you guys discussing?
Just talking like when I first come in the room, I was asking people nicely and no one seemed to do anything, so I shouted at Neil and told him to do something, and he went and told Harvey and I to move the chairs out of the figure of 8 and put them back because he was annoyed with it.
Yeah? So how could you describe that from a domain point of view, that experience?
That's like emotional. It's, didn't anything else told him and stuff.
Yeah? I've got a quick question before you move on any further. Obviously I don't know what size you're going to do. From the group who's delivering this point of view, you've been able to watch what's happened. You've been able to watch the experience. So where could you see any domains in what was happening? Either from the manager to the individual or from the individual's reaction to the manager.
Again, the values were not known by the managers and there was no communication.
Mm-hmm.
And in the end, it ends up in maybe a lack of respect because the managers got frustrated
Mm-hmm.
and there were no person jobs anymore because in the end you started to move the chairs by your own, for example, so the employees did nothing.
Mm-hmm. What about a culture? What could you see from a cultural point of view then? What values would you describe the culture of your experience? Was it respectful? Any trust in there? Yeah? Can you see where I'm going with that? It's about looking at the values that you were picking out the other week and saying, can you see any of that in the experience of the doing that you've just had? How can you attach that to the leadership, to the individual point of view? Why was the culture the way it was? Did the culture change as behaviours changed from a leadership point of view? Because that in essence is what your assignment is about. It's how can you change those behaviours, yeah, or remap those behaviours to get a more positive, well-being, healthy organisation culture. How can you embed it? What values do you need to change? Is it leadership? Is it individual? Is it both?
Then we can, of course, explain short our conclusions. And the proposal was overall to show you that there's no recipe, for example, handling staff. That it depends on the values of their culture and maybe even their perceptions of behavior. So it could be, for example, you come into an organization and when you have a really strict structure, employees like it. Yeah, or they don't think that it's rude if you ask them to do a job, or they think it is. It would be more appropriate if you can go to them and ask, could you please move the chair or so. Yeah, it really depends on the people you have to deal with. And then that there's a strong need for observation, that you have to look maybe if you come to a company, what's going on, how are the procedures, how likely are those procedures, do the people like to work like that? Yeah. And for the assignment, we have, for example, to think about a strategy or tactic, how to improve well-being, but maybe we should all think about that it's still a university, that we maybe can't change the bureaucratic structures at all, because it stays the university. You can't say, oh, do what you like, and procedures, why do we have procedures, why do we have paperwork, doesn't matter at all. So before you implement or think about a strategy, you think,